Hello everybody, my name is Paul. My family name is Uszyński. Uszyński is a Polish family name. I'm talking to you from a beautiful city of Warsaw, Poland. But in English you can translate this family name as Earman. Yes, that would be the closest. If you don't believe me, ask any of your Polish friends. They're gonna tell you Uszyński is like Earman. And guess what? I got a pair of large ears. They're actually 3 times smaller. I used to have a plastic surgery. My ears were literally like this. And I'm a sound designer and music producer. Yes, this is all true. Would you imagine? A sound guy, a music guy, earman with a pair of huge ears. And guess what more? I'm a misophonic person since I was 8. Yes, I swear. This is all true. And I welcome you to my new YouTube channel called Never Give Up, Living with Misophonia. And yeah, if by any chance you like this channel, you think this channel brings anything into your life, any value, any support for you as a misophonic person, or for you as a person who met misophonic people in their life, please consider subscribing, getting notified, liking this video and commenting on it down below, because I really love starting discussions and learning new things from people. Thanks. Yeah, and I'm also not gonna lie to you, I'm not a newcomer on YouTube. Here you're gonna find my main YouTube channel called Folia Sound Studio. It's a pro audio music production channel that I'm running for a couple of years. I'm 44 years old. As I told you, since I was 8, I suffer from misophonia as far as I remember. And today I would like to present you a bit of my story, started from the very beginning. The very beginnings of misophonia, my misophonia. But what is misophonia? Because there are still people who came to this channel, they're not gonna know anything. And before that, a couple of disclaimers. Remember, I'm not a shrink. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a guy suffering from misophonia for most of his life who gathered a bit of experience to share and found a bit some nice ways to handle it all in everyday life. And I allowed myself to be a happy person as a misophonic person. I found the way, and I can simply, I can say it because it's true. And that's why I also wanted to start this channel. First, to support every person suffering from misophonia, because I know what you are through. I know it, and I know what kind of hell misophonia is for most of, simply all of you. And the second thing is that you seriously should never give up, because there are always ways out. There are always ways out, and you don't have to suffer, and you don't have to live an unhappy life as a misophonic person. I can guarantee you these two. The third thing is that I would like also to share some of my experience and basic knowledge about misophonia to the people who are not misophonic themselves, but they encounter misophonic people in their families, among their friends, co-workers, etc. It's better for both you and misophonic people if you know also what misophonia is, because I do believe this is my best life experience. When you both, misophonic person and non-misophonic person, when you find ways to effectively communicate and openly talk, you're gonna avoid a lot of traps, a lot of conflicts, and a lot of misunderstandings, sometimes suffering on both sides, especially in families, I believe. And I wouldn't call it my mission, but I would call this my social responsibility that I want to take. Yeah, I do believe I gathered some experience, I processed this experience the best way I could, and I allow myself to speak out loud as a misophonic person. Yeah, so what is misophonia? Well, this is a great question because all the doctors, researchers, psychiatrists, psychologists, audiologists, there is no consensus on what misophonia is, and we're gonna make a couple of episodes separately about defining and researching misophonia. I'm also gonna try to even invite some guests for you. We have great specialists on misophonia here in Poland. Misophonia is a hearing condition that affects emotions. Misophonia are negative emotional reactions based on fear and anger triggered by sounds made by other people. That's an objective fact about misophonia, no matter if we call it a disease, a dysfunction, a feature, whatever it is. This is the most basic description on misophonia, and I believe there is consensus among medical community about this. So yeah, I also do suffer this. We're not gonna dissect misophonia more today. Let's let that sink in. That's the simplest thing we can start off with. And as I said, my story is that I remember myself having first symptoms of misophonia when I was 8 years old. I believe I was 8 back then. And as with many of you, my dear misophonia girls, guys, and all the people out there, it started with my closest surroundings, with my mother, who had this feature, and she's got this feature until very today. She's got stuffed nose, stuffed nasal sinuses. She's got running nose for all her life. She speaks like this. I'm not gonna do it for you, don't worry. I know what it means for you. And she's sniffing loudly a lot for all her life, also doing this kind of gestures. I hate it. It triggers me a lot, and I promise to take care of any possible triggers during the recordings. I'm going to avoid them all as much as I can for all of you misophonic people out there. That's how my misophonia started. And I remember actually the day it started, and I have a snapshot of this very certain situation when I simply heard my mother like I was hearing her for the first time in my life. And I got mad. And I was a kid, so I expressed it. And I remember her reaction. She went like, "What? You don't like something?" It was exactly like this. And this event set up all my life. And I do not exaggerate a millimeter, a gram here. It set up all my life because it remained like this. And that's why I believe educating people, non-misophonic people, about misophonia and supporting misophonic people is so important. And yeah, I was always having this hearing, very sensitive hearing. I was a very musical kid. My first memories when I was 3 or 4 are not images. I remember fragments of dialogues or my father's first car's engine. These are my first memories. I have a tape recorder in my head. As many of you, right? How many of you, dear misophonic people, are musical? Do you do any music or sound? Just as a hobby or as a profession? If you don't, I can recommend you this. Just a digression. It's gonna... for me, it made miracles. I found my place in life. We're gonna get to that, not in this episode, but just a digression. Guys, go make some music or sound editing. You're gonna be amazing at that. Believe me. Yeah, anyway, I was 8, and it started escalating because my mom's reaction to my misophonia remained like this, very negative. She was denying that something was wrong. She didn't let me speak about it. She didn't want to listen. And I was just a kid, and she never asked me until very today, "Paul, what's going on with you? What's wrong?" I never heard that question. And I know it's like that for many of you. I know what it means, and it helps developing misophonia in the worst possible way with all the side consequences. Because misophonia is one thing, but social and emotional consequences of your family denying or fighting your misophonia, this is at least double trouble, or even more. And it was like this with me. I was 10, 12 years old. I discovered that not only running nose and sniffing of my mom, but some sounds from my dad, from my sister, appeared from other people. And then when I was, I believe, 17, 16 latest, it was fully developed as an automatic mechanism concerning a group of sounds, and every possible person around. Misophonia stopped choosing and preferring things inside me. It simply developed, and it started being automatic without any of my consent and without any of my will. It was just my brain producing reactions. You know it all. Misophonic people, and those of you who are not misophonic, believe when somebody tells you his reactions are out of control. They are. And yeah, my mother didn't let me speak about misophonia. Also my dad, my sister, they weren't really supportive. They didn't want to hear about it. It was a taboo in my family, but I was still hearing these sounds every day. And it was a torture. And I started suffering. I can't describe it, the way I suffered in life from 8 to 8 years old until 20 years old. I seriously can't describe it. It's beyond words what I've been through. And I narrowly escaped it. And it was worse and worse. And my mom was always very emotional. She started blaming herself. She was quietly, I believe, blaming me. She didn't want to talk. It was a taboo. Everybody knew that there is something very wrong with me. But no, there was nobody to talk. And there was nobody to ask me a simple question. Paul, what is going on with you? It was all a very silent drama. And it ended up very bad. Because when I was 20 years old, I detached myself from reality so much that I started having suicidal attempts. And these were quite serious because I was suffering too much. My brain was occupied only with negative sounds, with torture, and started looking ways to absolutely stop it for good right now. And ending my life was the only thing out there I could think about it. But please, misophonic people, remember when I'm talking about this. That was just a new beginning for my new and real and happy life. So if you ever suffer from despair and having suicidal tendencies, speak out loud, find help, and never give up. Never give up. I can guarantee you this, that you can handle your misophonia in your life very well. And I'm talking about my suicidal attempts when I was 20 years old, only because of this, because I'm past. I got over it, and it never ever happened again in my life since then. But yeah, it's true. And then I got into, I know it was diagnosed as a depressive psychosis, depression psychosis, psychoza depresyjna in Polish. And I detached from reality completely. And there was around a year in my life that I remember nothing from it because I was suffering so much that simply my brain disconnected. And that was the peak. And then the return started. Yeah, I got out of the hospital when I was 21 or something, I believe. That was not my last visit in the hospital, the first one, not the last one. Or I was 22 or 21 when I went there, and 22 when I got out. Guys, I seriously don't remember. I know it was somewhere there. And then new life began. Because I decided I have to save myself, my life, and it's not that I was born to be only tortured, because that was the story of my life until then. I was born to be tortured, rejected, and living in both huge state of torture and huge state of self-blaming, of blaming myself, and also having a feeling that I'm the enemy of the world and the world is my enemy, and that I'm completely singular and alone in what's going on. And I decided when I was, let's say, 22, that I'm not gonna let it happen, that I will never give up. Yeah, that was the time. And that's the name of this channel. As a 22 years old misophonic, extremely scared, extremely scattered, extremely emotionally exhausted, extremely antisocial, because I was also bullied at school a lot. There was a lot of violence in my school, and I was one of the main victims of this. But when I was 22, I decided I'm better than that, and I'm gonna fight it, and I'm gonna win. And believe it or not, I do believe I won. And I want to tell you this story because I know it can support, even if it supports just one person out there in despair. If it's gonna open up any non-misophonic person to acknowledge a misophonia among someone, friends, family, it's a huge, huge success. And as I said, it's not my mission, I wouldn't call it like this, but this is my responsibility to share it. And let's say that's going to be it for today, and I'm going to continue for you very, very soon. Take care. Bye.